Hello and welcome to a debate among the two candidates on the ballot for Fitchburg's Ward 6 City Council in the November 7th municipal election. My name is Charles St. Amand, editor of the Sentinel and Enterprise, and we are coming to you today from the fantastic FATV studios. I want to thank FATV Executive Director Glenn Fosser and all the folks at FATV for partnering with the Sentinel and Enterprise on 4 debates this election season, focusing on this and the other contested ward council races, as well as the race for 3 seats on the school committee. We hope these sessions not only inform the public about the election, but also encourage voters to head to the polls November 7th. I welcome the candidates for Ward 6 councilor and thank them for participating. On your left is Heather DeJesus, and on your right is Beth Walsh. Our format is simple. I will ask a question, and each candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond. Then the candidates will have an additional minute to rebut or debate the question between each other. At the end of the candidates' questions and answers, each candidate will make a 1.5-minute closing statement. Those will also be done in alphabetical order. Our timekeeper is Sentinel and Enterprise City Editor Cliff Clark, who will be displaying a digital reading counting down the time. He will raise his hand when time has elapsed. Let's begin the questions and answers. We will begin in alphabetical order by the candidate's last name, so Ms. DeJesus will receive the first question first. As you campaign in Ward 6, what is the biggest issue that residents are identifying, and what do you tell them about it?
Thank you, Charlie. This summer has been great. I've canvassed about 1,800 different residents within Ward 6, and the thing I hear most is infrastructure. Ward 6 is the gateway to the city. You know, we have some very important streets that bring the community into Fitchburg. So it's important that we put our best foot forward with clean and safe streets. And so the residents are very concerned about infrastructure. What I say to them is, you know, it's something I'll look into. I understand that we have a budget, we have to balance it, and we'll work as a team as City Council to address their needs. But it is important that we focus on infrastructure since Ward 6 is the gateway to the community.
Ms. Walsh.
Thank you, Charlie. I've also heard the same thing going door to door. A lot of the residents are concerned, especially some of the commercial properties. I heard from a number of people who have businesses on Lunenburg Street that the focus has been so far on downtown in Fitchburg, and they're concerned that if you look at Lunenburg Street, every business is occupied, and yet they feel that maybe the attention is drawn elsewhere. And I agree with Ms. DeJesus that I think virtually every access into Fitchburg goes through Ward 6. And so that is an important issue. Another issue that I've heard from the residents are abandoned houses. And that's something that we need to really work on. There's a list right now of houses scheduled to be demolished, and I think we need to work to get those taken care of as quickly as possible.
Any follow-up? All set. We'll go to question 2. The next question goes to Ms. Walsh. The roads are a big complaint, and it's clear that the state funding for roads is not allowing Fitchburg to keep up with the paving. Do you support sending a Proposition 2.5 override or debt exclusion to the voters so they can decide whether they want to pay extra in property taxes to fix the roads?
Charlie, there are 4 ways right now that you could handle roads. There's the status quo, which is what we rely on now, Chapter 90 funds from the state, and then whatever the City Council can add to that. That's what we've done so far. This year, the Chapter 90 funds were $1.1 million. The City Council kicked in another $200,000 from the free cash or available funds, and that covered 3.5 to 4 miles of road. We have over 180 miles of road in Fitchburg, so you can see where that is not going to cover a lot. We could do a loan or a bond. That's going to take away from other projects like the Fitchburg Public Schools, the library, City Hall, those kinds of things. We could do a debt exclusion, or we could take from the general fund. The general fund, if you take from the general fund, of course, it's going to take away from something else. I guess it would be up to the citizens of Fitchburg to decide whether they want to do a Proposition 2.5 override, but I don't think that that would be the first thing that I would attempt to do.
Ms. DeJesus.
Actually, that's a hot topic again with a lot of residents, as you can imagine. City Council as a team, we need to really decide what's the best way to do that. And government funding or state funding, while it's an important component, I don't think residents are going to be palatable to another residential tax increase. One of the things that we really should look at doing as a team on City Council is using some of the excise tax money that currently goes to the general fund, slowly start siphoning some of that to a dedicated budget, a dedicated line item. It's like when you're budgeting, when you're looking at your home budget, if you have a liability that you know you have to take care of, you should make it a line item. So if we start to siphon off some of our excise tax money towards road repair, and we keep doing that incrementally year after year, we don't have to rely 100% on the state government, and we don't have to look at taking out bonds.
Any follow-up or rebuttal?
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, I think that that the taking the money in from the excise tax is, I guess that's one way that you could go about it. But I think that it would be, right now what the City Council does is look at available funds, which is whatever money is left over at the end of the year, they take that money and they decide how to divide it up. And I think that the excise tax is part of that. And so I don't know that by just taking the excise tax, if that's going to make a dent in it any bigger than what we're doing right now.
The excise tax, that the residents pay taxes on their vehicles, the expectation is that it goes to road repair. While I appreciate that it goes to the general fund and we've become reliant on that, we need to become less reliant on that. So with fiscal responsibility, by trimming our budget everywhere, being smart about where our money goes, we can start to siphon some of that from general fund to where it's expected to go, which is road repair.
All right, let's go to the next question. And it's first to Ms. DeJesus. Earlier this year, the City Council approved changing a good portion of Main Street to one lane. What is your opinion of this plan? Do you think it is having an impact? And are there other traffic changes you would like to see in the downtown?
It's a great question. I'll be completely honest. The jury's still out for me on whether or not I like the one lane. There's definitely a lot of advantages to it. It opens up more parking for downtown, so as we develop that area, there'll be some parking. I know that's a concern for businesses potentially moving in. It also, of course, makes it safer for pedestrians, and it gives us some more biking space. It has, however, backed up that Blossom Street intersection there near the Dunkin' Donuts. It's, you know, people get upset, frustrated. Certain times a day, it's definitely more congested. So I think with some tweaks, we could probably continue to make one lane work. Something that I don't think all the constituents are aware of is that by making it one lane, it's classified as more living space, and it opens us up for more grants, both at a state level, with Massachusetts Department of Transportation, but also on a federal level, and in addition from private donors. So I think that the jury's still out for me. We could make some tweaks with the traffic congestion at Blossom, and it does allow us for some grant money to continue to renovate the downtown.
Ms. Walsh.
Thank you. There's currently a study being undertaken, and I think it's by Brandeis University, and they're looking at the result of the change from 2 lanes on Main Street to 1 lane on Main Street. I think it would be premature at this point to make any determinations as to what we do, you know, leave it as is or change it without first looking at that. I think initially the Fitchburg Police Department and the Fitchburg Fire Department were in favor of that. They are, again, collecting data to see what has happened with the 1 lane Main Street, to see what effect it's had on response times for the fire department, response times for the police department, whether there are impacts on vehicle accidents on Main Street, considering the one lane. I know that there are some business owners on Main Street who think it's has had a positive impact on their business, and I think that there are some who think that it has a negative impact on their business. So I think at this point, I would like to wait and see what has happened with regard to the study and see where that takes us.
Okay, any more on this?
No, definitely, as mentioned, a study to really truly evaluate the traffic, especially the congestion. I know that the police officers that I have spoken to have mentioned that, you know, people get frustrated. What ends up happening is they cut people off. They take side streets very quick. I'm sure all of us may have experienced a little bit of road rage ourselves. So again, I think a study to truly understand how we might be able to change maybe the light pattern at that Blossom Street intersection could really help the situation. And again, I think it's important for the constituents to know that this allows us to get more grant money, both private and federal, so that we can continue to help renovate the downtown. So there are some more positives that I think should be communicated so people understand a little more.
Anything more?
No, thank you.
Excuse me. Okay, final question goes to Ms. Walsh first. What is your greatest frustration about living in Fitchburg, and what can you as counselor do about it specifically?
My greatest frustration. I think that one of the things, and actually Heather and I had just been speaking about this while we were waiting. One of the things I find frustrating is the number of people who speed on the streets. Going door to door, some of the streets don't have sidewalks, and if you're walking, speeding traffic is an issue. I live on Bowtell Street, which is a very busy street, and there are a number of, we've had a number of accidents on Bowtell Street. We had a fatality this summer, and I think that that's a frustration for me. I know that the police can't be everywhere at one time, and you know, if you put a speed trap here, then they move over here. So I think that's one of my frustrations, and I'm trying to figure out how we can fix that.
Okay. Ms. De Jesus.
I think one of my biggest frustrations is the fact that Fitchburg has some beautiful architecture. And one of the things that really appeals to my family and I is that it's a big city, but it feels like a small town. And what's so frustrating to me is that we haven't really tapped into the gem that Fitchburg is and can be especially with the business development. I feel like we just keep saying that buzzword over and over again, and I'd really like to see some action taken around business development. Fitchburg is amazing, and we're really on our way to being truly more amazing than we are. So I think by really truly working on business development, not just using the buzz term, and also if we could really tap into and really take advantage of being a college town. Fitchburg State University is a wonderful asset to us, and we could truly monopolize on that by being more of a college town and integrated more into the downtown, which would only help fuel the business development. So to me, the fact that Fitchburg is not booming as much as it could be is frustrating.
Anything more on this topic?
Yeah, thank you, Charlie. I'd like to comment on what Mr. Jesus just said. I think that the university has taken a leading role in developing Main Street. They just purchased the theater block, the old Fitchburg and Saxon theaters that we all went to as kids. And I think that's one anchor at the upper part of Main Street. The university has also developed North Street and has developed properties down at the end of North Street. And I think those two things, one at the bottom, the lower end of Main Street, and the one at the upper end of Main Street, I think it's going to draw more commercial activity in between. The theater block development is actually a center for businesses and business development. And so I think that that's going to help that as well.
Anything more?
No, I think as we continue to partner with Fitchburg State University, which has been pointed out that we have, which is a great thing, but we also need to make sure those partnerships are mutually beneficial to both Fitchburg City and the university itself. I'd like to see some more timetables on when that development will actually come, when we'll actually start seeing more of the downtown being used actively. That will help attract more businesses to the area. In addition, we could also work on getting rid of some of the red tape and looking at ways to be creative about drawing new businesses into the city.
All right, thank you, candidates, and that concludes our question and answer round of today's debate. We now move on to 1.5-minute closing statements. For the closing statements, we will begin with Heather DeJesus.
Thank you, Charlie. My name is Heather DeJesus. I'm asking for your vote on November 7th for Ward 6. This summer has been an amazing experience for me. I took the time and I walked over 314 miles to meet over 1,800 residents in the community. And I took the time because I'm dedicated to our community. I've had hours of conversations with my constituents because my constituents' issues are my issues. I will be your check and balance on the City Council. It is important that when budget and safety issues arise, you can always count on me for my vote to be what's right for the ward. As your next City Councilor, you can rest assured that my interests are aligned with the constituents. A vote for me is a vote for integrity and transparency. Therefore, I ask that you vote for me, Heather DeJesus, on November 7th for Ward 6.
Thank you. Ms. Walsh?
Thank you. My name is Beth Walsh, and I'm running as a City Council candidate for Ward 6 because when Jody Joseph announced that he was not running for re-election, I saw this as one way to serve Ward 6 in the city of Fitchburg in a different, perhaps greater capacity. I have a proven record of dedication and effectiveness with the Fitchburg School Committee. I've served as Vice Chair for the School Committee for 2 years and the Public Schools of Fitchburg as well. As Vice Chair, I have established a working relationship with Mayor DiNatale and have served on several subcommittees, such as the Policy Subcommittee, the Resource Subcommittee, and the Building Needs Subcommittee. I also was on the negotiation team that negotiated contracts with 7 bargaining units in the Fitchburg Public Schools. These contracts provided a competitive wage and compensation package for the unit members and did not break the bank for the school system. I also serve on the board for the Friends of Coggeshall Park. In my capacity as a professor of criminal justice at Fitchburg State University, I have collaborated with the Fitchburg Police Department, the Crocker Center for Civic Engagement, and I was chair of the community working group for the strategic plan for Fitchburg State. The university's plan, working with people from the city, is to bring the city and the university together to create business opportunities and improvements to Fitchburg. The university's purchase of the theater block is but one example. I've been going door to door since the spring and have found that there are several issues that resonate with the residents of my ward. I will work to improve on those issues for those citizens. I grew up in Fitchburg and I'm a product of the Fitchburg school systems. I believe I have the education, the experience, and the drive to fulfill the duties of counselor for Ward 6. And I will bring the same level of dedication and devotion to specifics as I have to the school committee. I ask you to vote for Beth Walsh on November 7th for Ward 6 City Councilor.
Thank you, candidates, for your participation. We hope registered voters in Fitchburg will make their voices heard at the polls on Tuesday, November 7th. Thank you.